All right, guys. So the United States 1, El Salvador 0. It was a disjointed performance from the U.S. I thought we could have been a lot better, but we did get the 3 points. And there's a lot of things to talk about. There's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of tactical things, individual performances that could have been a lot better. And I think we can expect a lot better. But ultimately, we can be grateful for the 3 points because we needed them. How's everybody feeling tonight? Hey, Walter the Epic, Finesse Kid Carlos, Mitchell Steele. How are you guys? Sir, probably not as cold as everybody was in Columbus, huh? All right. Let me see here. We have Dave Valensky. Way better first half. Not the result I was expecting, but a win is a win for sure. Like I said, we can be grateful for those 3 points, but we do need to be a lot better in terms of performance. That was very disjointed and really poor in many different ways, which we will get into. Ayo, Paul, how you doing? Jesse Marsh, relieved we didn't give that away. Yeah, I was a little nervy at the end there. All right, let me bring Tack in. Thank you, Dave. How you feeling, Tack?
I like I told you before, I forgot how tiring it is to stay live for 3 hours.
Yeah, should we give Tack a hand here? That's a lot of hard work from him. And Stephen Nagishi says, I am in Columbus, and it's been brutal weather-wise. Yeah, I'm curious how much, the cold actually affected that performance. It didn't look like it affected it much, at least not to me. But I would love to hear what the players have to say afterwards, and even what Greg has to say. Tyler Evans says, nobody played bad, but nobody played great either. Yeah, I think that's a fair, I don't think anybody was brilliant. I thought Weah had won, a good game for the most part. But I don't think anybody really stood out as having a great game. Again, this is El Salvador, 7th place El Salvador. We'll talk about how El Salvador set up because I think it's interesting. Deadly Brian X says, in my opinion, Jedi and Zimmerman were our best. Terrible.
Weah too.
I thought Weah definitely up there. I don't know if Zimmerman was our best, but he had a pretty good performance. I thought our defense was mostly fine. He had 1 or 2 moments where I think he didn't need to foul Zimmerman, and then Richards had 1 or 2 sloppy moments. Wanted to finally give, this is from Dunk878, wanted to finally give Zardes some credit for a decent game, but he ended that game in his bad Panama game form. I just think he played as Zardes is. He had a few good moments of hold-up play, but he's still Zardes, right? Greg Busby, typical sloppy, physical Concacaf game, typical U.S. El Salvador match from Greg Busby. Check the weather for St. Paul next Wednesday. Yikes. We're going to get into that. All right, last one. Then I have a quick ad. Matt Poliquin, take the 3. I just don't get why the talent level often doesn't match the performance. It's frustrating. Jedi needs to end the flip celebration. Can't afford him getting hurt. Also, get off my lawn.
Dude, he pretended to get hurt. It got me worried for a second.
You can definitely get hurt. Okay, real quick, let me have a quick integration here, guys. Make sure you check Bounty Sports, which is a totally different way of playing fantasy sports. Instead of picking players like other websites, you pick teams, you compete against other players, and you win cash prizes. Is it freezing? Signing up is easy. There's no deposit or credit card needed. And what I like, that's weird. Let me take that off for a second. I'll play this again when the internet is a little bit better, guys.
The link is on the description.
The link is in the description. I'll just go real quick is what I'm going to say in case we have the same problem. Bounty Sports, guys. The link is in the description. It's a new kind of fantasy sports where instead of picking players, you pick teams. So basically there's matchups. They have soccer, they have basketball, they've got football, they've got all these different matchups, and you basically can pick your team. You just pick the matchups and you compete against other players. This week, the one that they're really promoting is called the $1,000 basically like contest where you pick a bunch of different teams together. I think it's a $4 buy-in. And if you sign in with my code, which is 11 Yanks, all caps, no spaces, 11 Yanks, that's 11 Yanks, then you get $5 on Bounty Sports. So when you sign up, make sure you use my promo code 11 Yanks Bounty Sports. The link is in the description. I will try to play the video again later, maybe when the stream is working a little better, okay? But Tack, Let's do a couple of these super chats, and then we'll start getting into positives and negative, well, not negative, but issues that are takeaways. Okay. We will check the weather in St. Paul. Matt Poliquin, thank you everybody for the super chats. Appreciate it. Let's continue here. Orlando is getting the Panama game. Can we trade? Trade what? I don't understand.
Play Orlando next week and then Minnesota in March would have probably been better.
Yeah, probably. No arguments from me there. Ray Gallenberg, Weston and Eunice seem to have forgotten the concept of beating guys on the dribble. Triple G will always be an anchor on our neck. And what's it take to get a card in Concacaf? I don't know. Did you think that they were particularly dirty tonight? I thought they did some rough fouls, but I don't think it was that.
I think a yellow was deserved at one point.
Yeah, for repeated infringement.
Yes, they definitely deserved the yellow, and the ref seemed like he forgot the yellow card in the locker room.
Yeah, that's possible. I think that's fair. Not much creativity in midfield, even with MMA. Too reliant on crosses from fullbacks that can't cross. Ferreira not real, center forward. 1-0 sounds about right. I think I can agree with a lot of that, but the way that El Salvador set up and the way that we set up, it was a terrible matchup. And I'll get into the tactics of that when we start talking about the takeaways, because there are a couple of things that I think are important to highlight. But we like to start with the positives, right, Tack? I mean, we always want to highlight the positives after a game. And for me, the obvious positive is 3 points, right? 3 points keeps us in the top 2. Mexico won, which is not great to see. They came back against Jamaica.
Late.
Very late. So Canada won as well. So, nothing changes in terms of our 3 places. We'll see how Panama does afterwards. Zach E., not sure if you noticed how Musa was playing in attack versus defense. Looks like he moved back into left back and let Robinson play up high. He didn't play left back, but he did hold his position a little more when Robinson was higher up the field. You're definitely right about that.
I think one thing to tell everyone that sometimes people get confused is just because the guy is in that position for that specific moment of the game, it's not where he's actually playing, right? Soccer, you move around, there's transitional phases. So yeah, at times that what it looked like, but he didn't play left back at all. He was in that position for certain moments in the buildup.
Yeah, correction, guys. Canada is not over. A couple of people reminded me of that in the comments. Canada is not over. I just saw the 1-0 and forgot to look at the time. It's not over. It's still 1-0 to Canada. Is that right?
Yes, it is. I'm watching Panama, though. So can we just say one thing before you move on to the next one?
Yes.
If Panama wins, okay, we have pretty much the top 4 of the qualifiers set.
Yeah, it's all right. Over.
So that's important to say. So it could be bad if they win because we don't get closer to locking in that top 3. But if they win, we do get that comfort zone that the worst case scenario is 4th, which shouldn't be acceptable, but it's just something to maybe relax a little bit.
Yeah. Jamaica's out pretty much now. It's over for them. They didn't get even a point at home against Mexico, so they're done. It's really between Costa Rica and Panama at this point. El Salvador's done. Honduras is probably done. They are done. There's no question. It really depends. Can Costa Rica stay in it now and make it a top 5 race instead of just a top 4 race? Okay. Tack, do you have any positives?
So Tim Weah, I want to say Tim Weah positive again because there's always that debate of who's our right winger, right? Who's going to be our right winger? It's going to be Giovanni Reina. Is it going to be Brendan Aronson? Is it going to be Tim Weah? And I think based on the starts Timothy Weah had last year, and then he had this year, late last year, World Cup qualifying, I think he locked in that he is probably our best right winger, our true right winger. Why am I saying this is such a big positive? Because you have to move Gio Reyna central eventually or bench him. And I don't see him being benched. We know the ceiling. Gio Reyna is probably out of our players the only player that has actually a world-class ceiling. So I think that just forces Greg to move him central, and I think that means Sebastian Leget's time and Roldan might be done. Leget looks more likely, but both.
I really, really hope so. Yeah, so that definitely Tim Weah was a positive. I I'm going to say Walker Zimmerman. You know,
Yes.
he wasn't perfect and he had a few fouls where I thought he didn't need to make that foul, but he was commanding in the air. He made his presence felt. Again, with his passing was fine. Like, I don't think his passing was bad. He connected the right passes. It wasn't line breaking necessarily or incisive always, but it didn't need to be. The point is he was fine with his passing under pressure, and that's really what you want from your center back, okay? He's not going to be John Brooks on the ball. God forbid I talk about him. Stephen Nagishi says, sentimental subs of Morris and Zardes made my blood boil. No DLT again. Poor passes and crosses all night. Ferreira's poor finish made it difficult. Not just Ferreira. Zardes had a chance in the second half. Weah had a chance in the first half. If we put those three away, this is a 4-0 game, and we're looking a lot more comfortable coming out of this, right? So, but yeah, I agree with you about the subs, and we'll talk about that, Stephen, for sure, because I think DLT would have been perfect for a game like this, but that feels like me being a broken record because I keep saying the same thing over and over again. Tact, you take this one.
I conducted an experiment, and the conclusion is when I don't get drunk during the game and the USA loses, I will continue to get drunk. He said dunk, but drunk during USA game. Thanks. Whatever works, whatever gets us the win. If that gets us the win, keep doing it. I'm not telling anyone to drink, but if that gets us the win, keep doing it. All for it.
Yeah, certainly. Certainly. Let me try this ad one more time and just see if we can get it to work, okay?
Let me also
need to check out Bounty Sports, which is a totally different way of playing fantasy sports. Instead of picking players like, yeah, it's still not working, and I don't know why. So I'm just going to remove it, guys. It might be a technical issue there. Okay, so Filippo, are there any other positives apart from the result and a few players who we thought played well?
Again, it almost seems like we're saying the obvious, but Greg Berhalter, I wouldn't say Greg Berhalter's in-game management was perfect in the game, wasn't horrible or perfect, but the starting 11 again, right? Ferreira might have not been the best option for that. He's not really a lone center forward, right? He operates well as a 10. He operates well as a second striker, but not the goal scorer, right? That's not him. Neither is Zardes, by the way. But overall, Greg, I like the lineup that he put out, right? Chris Richards played full 90. Love to see that.
Yeah.
I think Greg today, for the lineup that he put out, the player selection was a positive.
Yeah, I agree. A net positive in terms of the starting lineup. Thank you, Will, for the donation, the super chat. Chris Gary says, what worried me was that MMA went 85 plus minutes. How will Greg rotate the squad in Canada? I could see Greg putting Acosta in the 11. Yeah, that'll be an interesting thing. And we'll talk about Canada a little bit, maybe at the end here. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely a concern about how much are on their legs. Also, both Serginho Dest and MMA sort of limped a little in the last part of the first half. We probably have to wait until afterwards to see how serious those injuries are. Hopefully they're nothing serious, but I would be surprised if
Dest
really
will
bad.
sit.
What?
Dest will probably sit. He has 4 right backs. He'll probably sit Dest.
Yeah, possible. Maybe DeAndre. And maybe DeAndre might be better suited to Canada. I don't know.
Didn't Yedlin arrive late? Something like that? Is he there?
Yeah, he's there now, but he arrived late because of snow in Turkey or something. Okay, let's start talking about the issues. And guys, I will intermittently answer these super chats as we go through, but we do want to talk about what happened in this game. Why were we so disjointed, right? Why did we look so poor at home, right? In our own stadium, in the cold weather that was supposed to be so difficult for El Salvador to deal with. We're going to talk about it because I have some ideas. But Concacaf says, maybe I'm old school. No place for a proper Ruud van Nistelrooy striker, a.k.a. Pepe, in Triple G's standard formations. See, I think Pepe's suits is fine in that formation. We saw him in a 4-3-3 many times for Greg, and he was fine. I was surprised we didn't see Pepe at all tonight. Maybe Greg is seeing something in training that he doesn't like, but I don't know if it'd be possible for Pepe to be any worse than
Maybe
Ferreira.
Pepe left MLS.
Oh my God. Don't even start. Okay. I want to highlight the first issue. Well, it's not the first issue, but it's an observance of how El Salvador played. In the pregame, we talked about were they going to be in a low block? Were they going to press? Where they were going to set that line of confrontation. And it's not that El Salvador plays in a low block. what they did, at least today, and I haven't watched all El Salvador games, today they played in a very compressed block. That means the space between their back line and their front line is always very narrow. But it's a mobile block, okay? This block moves as a unit. They can set this block very high up the field in a high press, maybe not that high, or they can move it into the midfield and set the line of confrontation here, or they can set it into a low block. It's very fluid and it's very mobile, but always it is very compressed, very narrow, and very difficult to play through. Am I right so far, Tak? Did you notice this as well?
I didn't notice throughout the game.
You didn't?
No. Well,
Okay.
I noticed they didn't really play a true low block. They didn't play a low block. They did press us in the first 15 minutes. They pressed. After that, they stopped pressing because they would have gassed out too. It looks a lot like Iceland.
Yeah, it was very flexible. Exactly what Lars Lagerbach was talking about.
Yeah.
It's a very flexible block. They can move it up, they can move it down, but they always keep it very compressed. And then they go hunting in packs on the ball, right? Now, there's two things that we did that I thought suited this El Salvador game perfectly. When a team is playing like that, you need to move the ball very quickly, okay? That means nobody hangs on to the ball for too long. You have to keep moving the ball to rip them open, right? Spread them out, rip them open. And we didn't do that. Too often today, there was lots of guys on the field who hung on to the ball for way too long. Too much trying to dribble under pressure when there was an easy pass. Too much trying to show off our techers and our technique in 1v1 situations, not in the right places. And we would lose the ball because of that. McKennie did it. Dest did it. Pulisic certainly did it. Sometimes Musa did it. I just thought it wasn't very good. The second thing was that when they're playing a block like that, you need, and I said this on your stream, you got to stretch them out. And so from a U.S. perspective, okay, we weren't playing the typical 4-3-3 that we, usually play because Pulisic was playing inside. And then Jesus Ferreira was coming very deep in possession, which made it very easy for them to compress the game. And now we've got a congested midfield where the only real outlet a lot of the time is Weah and Dest, and sometimes Robinson too. But I thought if we had Pulisic playing wider, it would have dragged them out a little bit more and created more space for us. And we never really did that. Pulisic played inside most of the game, and I just think that helped. El Salvador's game. So those two things were where we failed to break them down. The third thing, no, you go ahead. You bring an issue. I have one more thing, but you're.
Well, I was going to add to yours. It's how do you resolve that? Right.
Yeah.
There's ways to resolve. One of them is when you go in a team that's so compact like that and narrow, like you said, and can move easily together, you don't play for false nine.
Yeah. Well, because it continues to congest, right?
You don't play for false nine. You play with a guy that's in the box. Especially, this is my problem with Greg wanting to play. So this is my issue. Greg wanting to play with a false nine. How can you want to play with a false nine if your main play is for your wingers to whip in crosses?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense.
There's nobody there.
Exactly. That's the whole point. If you're going to play with a false nine, your wingers are kind of like, they're almost like they're inside forwards. That's the way to put it. They're inside forwards instead of inverted wingers or true wing. Way is just a winger with Greg. And he's playing with a false nine that pinches back to create. When Way crossed, there's a lot of times that he crossed and there was no one there. And that is not really on Jesus, right? That's not on him. It's not his role. Probably not even what Greg instructed. And Greg even said that he sees Jesus as a false nine. So one of the issues is Greg trying to put a false nine where it kind of seems like he doesn't understand what the false nine is.
Well, it's kind of like you can have one or the other for me. It's like if you're going to have Jesus play as a false nine and drop really deep, then pull Pulisic wide and have Pulisic stretching the back line the same way that Weah was doing. Or if you want Pulisic inside, play a proper nine like Pepe, who's going to stretch that back line a little bit more. It just feels like it didn't really suit us, and it played into El Salvador's hand. The other thing I want to talk about is our midfield. Both McKennie and Musa are the kind of guys who they're not going to pick a lock with a through ball or a line breaking pass. It's not really their game. They're more driving at you with the ball at their feet, forcing you to backpedal, and then playing the ball wide for a cross in, which is what Greg loves. But when you're trying to break down a very compressed block like we saw with El Salvador, wherever that block is, you need technique. You need a guy who can play in compressed time and space and who's very good at line breaking passes. And that's Luca De La Torre. who never saw the field all night. Story of his life. Can't get on the field, even if he's in the roster. I thought Luca De La Torre, especially around the 60th minute, would have been perfect for a game like this. But no, we had to see Zardes and Morris and Acosta.
Pete, can you get your board and just draw a 4-3-3 for the U.S.? Do the 4-3-3. Just to show them what we were talking about, the false nine pinching in, and then the two guys up top. So actually, the 4-3-3.
This is your 4-3-3. Your standard 4-3-3.
Well, you're missing a red one.
That's
and
Pepe.
That's actually switched the dual 8s with the 6. Yeah, there you go. So 4-3-3. What we were talking about is when you get the center forward and he pinches back, the two wingers have to go in. And then at times, it can even look, if he's more like a 10, Pete, more like a 10, the false nine,
like a 4-4-2.
It almost looks like a 4-4-2 diamond. Can everyone see that right now? That's what we were saying that it should look like. But the problem is Jesus was pinching in. Pulisic was like in the midfield, and then Weah was wide, and that's how we looked a lot.
Yeah.
What do you
Which
do
is
with
why,
that?
especially in the first half, so much of our actual attacks came through Tim Weah, right? Because he was our only outlet. Now, if we had and where they pinch in matters too, because if they pinch in here, that doesn't help you. You're just congesting the back line. They're supposed to stay wide. Where you want them pinching in is in and around the box. That's where it becomes important. But I thought Weah did a great job of staying wide and then getting in the box in the right moments. Pulisic, though, not so much. And what I don't understand is that something that Greg Berhalter told him to do, or is that Pulisic doing his own thing?
It's still a mix of both, right? Because if it's of blame, you blame Pulisic, but you got to blame Greg too. Greg has to pull him to the side. Christian, I don't want you there. Maybe that's what Greg took him out of the game. I don't know. Brendan, when he was in the left wing, he wasn't going very deep when he came in. Brendan.
No, he wasn't.
So maybe it was Greg giving Pulisic freedom, and Pulisic chose to do that.
I just think that, it's really hard to know because it felt like it wasn't working, and it was so obvious, at least to me, that I thought for sure Greg would have switched it up in the second half. Do you think Pulisic is the kind of person that Greg would say, do this, and Pulisic would say, no, I'm going to do my own thing?
No, doesn't do that with
Tuchel. Seem like the type.
No.
I don't know. I guess we don't know for sure.
We don't know, but it could have been Greg. Not that he was going against Greg, but it could have been that Greg told him, do your thing. Give him freedom. And then he did that, right? Maybe it wasn't that he was going against Greg. It was just Greg gave him freedom, and Pulisic was doing his thing, and it wasn't really working.
Yeah. So those are my thoughts on how the way that we played kind of played into El Salvador's hands. Now, that being said, I don't want to make it sound like we were terrible because we created 5 or 6 good chances throughout the game. This could have easily been 4-0 game, right? We wasted chances. Pepe in the first half, Weah in the first half.
Jesus, not Pepe.
I'm sorry, Jesus and Weah in the first half, Zardes in the second half. We also had 2 good saves from the keeper, one on Anthony Robinson, one on Yunus Musa, both in the second half. So it wasn't like we played a terrible game, but for our player pool at home, I think that we should expect better, right? We talk a lot about raising expectations, about the standard of this pool and what we should expect. And today, I was disappointed,
I couldn't agree more. If people go to the live stream in my channel and they go to before the game started, I think we gave predictions, and then I think these were my exact words. I said, if we finish the game with a scrappy 1-0 win, which kind of was, right? I mean, we created, but it was scrappy. We had to grind it out at the end. I would be relieved because we got 3 points and we're getting closer, but I wouldn't really be happy or satisfied with it. And that's how I feel right now. I feel relieved. We're on track. We're pretty damn close to Qatar at this point. Not there yet, but we're pretty close. But disappointed with what I saw, right? It doesn't seem like let's put it this way. If we play like this in the World Cup, we're not getting past the group stage.
No. Will says, credit to Zim for his play out of the back. Much improved. Agreed, Will. Pulley was a real problem on the left. Negated Robinson all night. I don't know, Will. I didn't see Pulley on the left that often, to be honest. I thought Pulley spent a lot of time in field. He had a few moments on the left where actually when he did get on the left, you're right, he was good. But generally speaking, I thought he spent too much time in field. Holly Woos, why would Pulisic play himself out of position? See, that's my question too. I don't know why he would drift inside if that's not what Greg told him to do. And it wasn't just that he drifted inside. He spent so much time inside that it felt like it was very intentional, at least to me. Any other issues that you noticed, Tack?
Nothing major, maybe some details. I think Tyler Adams could have been better on the ball a few times. But nothing. I think the major concerns, especially showing everyone tactically the issues that we had, because that's something Greg has to address to the team, and it can't repeat. If it keeps repeating, it don't look like a professional team at one point. But no, nothing else is a major issue. Anything else I think I mentioned, I would kind of like be picking on players at this point.
Yeah. I thought defensively we got pulled open too easily once or twice, but mostly I thought we were pretty solid defensively. I have no real complaints. There was the one shot from Alex Roldan in the first half where we were defensively pulled apart, and that's still a question mark for us. In transition, defensively, we still struggle. Remember, this is El Salvador, right? Their best player is Alex Roldan. So against a better quality team, I'll be interested to see in Canada, how do we handle that transitional game? American Blues, I wanted to highlight this. All the tactics in the world can't make up for technical deficiencies. US was a turnover machine. Jedi and Dest couldn't hit a cross accurately. Adams was horrible with turnovers. So American Blues, I'm not saying we don't have technical deficiencies, but I don't think technical deficiencies were the reason we lost today. Between our two teams, we are far more technical than El Salvador, okay? The problem was, in my opinion, that too often the reason we turned over the ball was because we were trying to do too much. Instead of moving the ball quickly amongst ourselves, everybody wanted to show off their techers and dribble on the ball, their technique. Oh, look, I can do my 1v1 thing. I saw it from Pulisic. I saw it from Dest. I saw it from Kenny. And when you're playing against an El Salvador that compresses space so well like that, you're going to give it away. And we didn't recognize what was happening and change. And that was disappointing to me. So, the reason we're a turnover machine matters. I don't think Jedi and Dest were that bad with their crossing, to be honest. Do you think they were that bad?
First half, yes. Maybe I need a rewatch, right? I'm watching it and hanging out with people. It's almost like watching with friends. So sometimes I might say something that wasn't as accurate. But I need to rewatch it. But I thought in the first half, yes, they were. And then Dest might have gassed out a little bit. He looked a little less active in the second half. Robinson, after he scored, he started to look a lot. Robinson almost had 3 goals. Had 2 nice shots after.
Yeah, that second one where he slalomed through their defense, you know. Yeah, look, guys, it's an underperformance. There's no doubt about it. We can be happy about the win, but we've got to call out a poor performance because, again, like I've said so many times before, performance is a greater descriptor of long-term success than results. Drew Watson, we underperformed. Wins are great, but tactics were off. Ferreira was the wrong choice as well. I can agree with that. This is an upsetting win, and it falls on Triple G. Look, Drew, if we go to Canada and win, and then we come back and win at Honduras, you're not going to remember about this game. Right? It's a disappointing performance. And certainly I felt like Greg could have done better with some of his tactics. But the players also have to take responsibility for what we saw on the field because they're better than that. They really are. And we have to expect better. Okay. Daniel says, it seemed to me that Pulisic was trying to overcompensate for Musa since he wasn't doing much in midfield. So Daniel, again, it's not that the reason Musa wasn't doing much in midfield is because Pulisic was occupying his position. Pulisic was there doing what Musa usually does, playing in that, 8, that double pivot of 2 8s. Pulisic should have been wide, and Musa would have had more space on the ball because Pulisic being wide would have dragged the defender out with him and thus creating more space for Musa to do his thing. But midfield congestion was a huge problem today. Huge problem. And kudos to El Salvador. They played it like a harp. I don't even know if that's an expression tag. Are there any other issues that you can think about? Richards is a world-class center back already. Certainly the way he's playing in Hoffenheim, I can say he's been really good. World-class, that's a different story, man. World-class is like Champions League.
He would be starting for Bayern if he was world-class.
Yeah, exactly. But he has potential as 27, certainly. I mean, he's still very young for a center back. 21 for a center back is still extremely young.
I'm just one of my concerns is with Tyler Adams because especially when Marsh was at Leipzig, I watched him a lot more than I normally did.
Yeah.
especially covering. And Tyler, throughout the season, it got better this year. The games this year, he's been solid for Leipzig. But last year, during the second semester and the first half of this current season, Tyler made a few mistakes at Leipzig that were errors that led to goals. And he looked a little bit like that. He reminded me a little bit of that Tyler Adams today. He needs to learn to be more the Tyler Adams we were seeing earlier this month of Leipzig, more consistent with that, which is actually the real Tyler Adams, right? He's not the one that's shaky on the ball. I just don't want him to keep going like this and get to the World Cup and still be like this, because he has had performances like this, at least 3 or 4 that I remember against obviously PSG and Manchester City, but there was one also in Bundesliga against a mid-table team. I don't record the name of the team, that he also had an error that led to a goal. That's just a concern I have with Tyler, because we know how well he can play.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think he needs to be a lot better in his distribution. I also think that sometimes he gets too tight to his player and gets beaten, right? You know, he has got that speed to close down opponents on the ball, but sometimes maybe just a little overly enthusiastic, and that hurts him, you know? Tyler Shelton, poorly form a result of club situation, injuries, or both? Doesn't seem as explosive anymore. It's a good question, Tyler. You know, I've always thought, and maybe Tact, you can answer this as well, that Pulisic is a confidence player. When he's playing in flow, when he's confident, when he's playing regularly, he's amazing. You know, he can do amazing things with the ball at his feet. And yeah, he is explosive. But when he's not playing, when his coach doesn't trust him, when he's having to fight for his position, when he's being used out of position, when his minutes are intermittent, it plays on his head. I think it's a bit of a mental thing with Pulisic, and he's not as confident. That's just my personal take. Is he less explosive? I think it's too early to say. We might be jumping to conclusions there.
Yeah.
We have to wait and see.
Pulisic's probably more of a Chelsea problem than USMNT and Berhalter problem. I don't think it's really Berhalter holding him back or anything. It's more of like what's going on with Chelsea. And you know how you know? He was asked in the press conference 2 days ago, or yesterday actually, about his situation in Chelsea. And not like Lukaku, right? He didn't really act like Lukaku, saying he wanted to be somewhere else, wherever. But you could see that he was bothered. It's like, yeah, I'm playing out of position, not where I want, but I'm learning to be versatile. It didn't really seem to be like enthusiastic about it. So that affects him. The players are human, and that's what's going on with Pulisic. I think it's more of a Chelsea problem. And again, I'm not blaming Chelsea. Chelsea's got to do what Chelsea's got to do.
Yeah.
And they're winning, or at least they won the Champions League. So not blaming them, just saying that's what's probably affecting Pulisic. That's probably why we're not seeing the best out of him lately in the U.S.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Tamale Killer, do you think Pulisic has not had time with MMA to know how they play? Plus, why was Nate from Ted Lasso the referee? I don't think it's so much about time with MMA. I thought it was about a role that suited him. I don't think his role suited him today. What are your thoughts, Tack?
Either the role or his own decision, right? It depends, like the free role.
Yeah, we don't really know who decided that.
Yeah. Again, remember, what is Pulisic good at? When he has a little bit of space to go on speed already at the defender, he'll slice and dice through the defense. Tell me one time in the game that he got the ball in that position. I don't think there was.
Maybe once.
There was one central, right? They tried to do it and he lost touch of it.
But even then, he wasn't 1v1. What you want to do is isolate Pulisic, right? You need to isolate Pulisic at least 1v1 against a fullback, and that's where he's explosive, right? And again, to be honest, Tack, that's the job of a coach. How do you get the best out of our Champions League winner, a guy who cut open Real Madrid and Porto and Atletico Madrid in the Champions League? Like, we know he has quality. It's on a coach also to figure out how to get the best out of him. In my opinion, you want to isolate him against 1 or 2 max players, and that's how he's best used. In a congested midfield, I just don't think it suits his game. Moloko5 says, Pepe goes to Europe. Ferreira signs DP with Dallas. Ferreira rewarded with the start, and Pepe benched. Coincidence? I think that might be a stretch. I know Tack joked about it. I'd want to see more data before I start calling that anything other than just, at this point, Greg seemed to prefer. We don't know what's happening with Pepe. Is Pepe losing confidence? Is he in bad form? Is he tired? I think it's unlikely that he's tired, simply because he only played 56 minutes last week and half a game the week before. But I don't really know. Maybe Greg is saving him for Canada. It could just be a rotational thing. What are your thoughts, Tack?
I don't know. Could be that he left MLS. I'm joking. I'm joking.
We definitely don't want that to be the case.
Yeah, no. It's definitely not that. Look, Jesus has been with Greg in December and January. Zardes has been in December and January. Greg likes those guys. Pepe's definitely not as hot in his form as he was at one point last year. That's probably what it is right now. And I think, look, I highly doubt Pepe gets 0 minutes this camp or no starts. He'll probably start one or another of the games left,
I
and
think he'll
hopefully
start
he
against
scores a
Canada.
goal, because him performing well in this camp could be what he needs maybe to get his confidence up and even to help up with his form in Augsburg, right? It has been like it's a 19-year-old arriving in Bundesliga mid-season, but maybe his form can be better there as well.
Yeah, and that's, again, he's 19. He just turned 19. I've said this many times. There's going to be variance in Pepe's performances. He's going to be up and down. That's part of being a young player. The main thing is not to jump to conclusions. I've seen a lot of people already jumping to conclusions about Pepe and saying, oh, he's no good. He's not this. He's not that. He's going to be a little bit inconsistent because he's 19, guys. You got to stick with him. You got to support him through the rough times because ultimately there is quality there. Look at Josh Sargent. Now, I'm not saying Josh Sargent is back just because he got 2 goals against the Premier League. But a lot of people are writing him off still. Oh, he's no good. He's crap. He's this, that, and the other. He's still 21. We don't know what Josh Sargent's going to be yet. So yeah, there's going to be variance of performance. Just understand.
I'm just going to address one comment that I've seen in the chat a few times too. Is like, maybe Pulisic's not as good as you guys think. So yeah, we can go on this and debate all day how good we think Pulisic is, how good you guys think, or not you guys. I mean, whoever thinks we're overrating him or overhyping him. Regardless of what you think of Pulisic, he can easily outperform an El Salvador defense. He can easily be the best player, one of the best players in the match. So that's not really the topic of discussion right now. It's more about how we could have gotten the best out of him today. And this wasn't the best out of Pulisic, regardless of how good you think he is.
Yeah. And again, if we're talking about how good he is, this is a guy who won the Champions League and not just won it, but played a very key role in beating one of the best teams in the world, Real Madrid, in order to get there. Not to mention winning man of the match against Porto and scoring against Atletico Madrid. This is not some overrated, average American player. This is a very, very good player, and we can definitely expect more against El Salvador. I'm sorry. I completely just didn't even read Zach's. Zach says, is there any added pressure on Triple G now that there is a suitable replacement, Jesse Marsch, available to take the job? I would say no, Zach, because I don't think that Jesse's going to get the job. And I don't think that Greg's position is under threat at all. And to be fair to him, he's qualifying for the World Cup. Filippo and I have always said this. As much as we've criticized Greg because we think he's not doing the best job or not doing as good a job as he could be, nothing is going to happen to Greg so long as he qualifies for the World Cup. And I wouldn't even want it to at this point. It's too late to start changing managers right now in the middle of a World Cup qualifying cycle. It's not smart. And he's done nothing worthy of getting sacked yet. Can he be doing a lot better than we are with the squad at his disposal? I believe so. Yes. Attack. So Will says, my point was that Puli drifting into the middle hurt the attack up the left. Negated combination with Robinson, whose main attributes are attacking. Yeah, I agree, Will. It also hurt the midfield. It hurt Musa because it took Musa's job away from him. It congested it and made it very difficult for Musa to operate. I'm going to quickly highlight one more thing that I was unhappy about, Tech, and that is the subs. I just thought outside of Aronson, I thought the subs were not great. You know, Zardes instead of Pepe, Acosta for Musa instead of DLT. I suppose Morris I didn't really have a problem with, but I mean, Morris was not especially effective either.
No, he didn't. Actually, Morris, I thought he was one of the worst subs in terms of performance.
Yeah, he didn't really do much. He really didn't do much, except for that one cross to McKennie. But other than that, he looked a little heavy and slow. I'm going to actually just, let me get rid of this here. I'm going to just bring up the screen because Bounty Sports' screen. Here we go. I'm just going to share it here so that you guys can see it. So these are the contests. This is the one I was talking about, the multi-sport 1K weekly pick'em. Can you see it, Tech? It's there, right? Okay.
Yeah.
$1,000 in total prizes. I've already made my picks. So if I want, I can edit them now. These are your selections. You can pick your selections here. Basically, you pick your matchups and then you just update them there. And then you play against other players for a chance to win the prize, which in this case is $1,000. So that's basically it. If you go back, now they don't have any soccer right now because it's on the international break, but they have Premier League and Champions League starting next week, and I will be playing in the Premier League and Champions League matchups. So come play against me. Like I said before, guys, 11 Yanks is the code. Go use that code for $5 off on Bounty Sports, a new way to play fantasy football. All right. Should we do player ratings, Tack?
Yeah, I like that part.
All right. It's going to be an interesting one because there's going to be some variance there. Let's start with Matt Turner. Matt Turner, very little to do tonight in terms of shot stopping. Actually, I think he made one save, really.
There was one in the first half, and the shot from Roldan was out of bounds. He seemed like...
Yeah, that wasn't on him. But no mistakes. He did what he was supposed to do. In terms of his distribution, he was never really under pressure. I mean, he made the little sideways passes nicely to Zimmerman and Richards when he had to, but there was not really any pressure. But he didn't do anything wrong, so I'll give him a 7.
Yeah.
A solid 7.
He's even hard to give a rating based on it. But, yeah, I'm just going to go with the same as you. I'll give like a 7.5, I guess. There's like nothing. It wasn't amazing, and he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah. Again, it's hard, and it's going to be hard against Honduras too. Our defense and our goalkeeper were never going to be tested that much. That's why everyone's like, oh, Zimmerman, this, that, and the other. Great. Guys, Zimmerman's defending against Alex Roldan, or, that caliber of players. It's El Salvador League, it's USL, and it's MLS. Not even that many MLS, to be honest. There's like 2 in there. So Darwin Seren, is he still in MLS, Darwin Seren?
Yeah, he's in Houston, right?
Houston, yeah. So you understand the level that we're talking about. We have to see when they face, tougher, maybe Canada. We'll see how we do against Canada. It's going to be a little bit more of a tough game, I think. I'm not saying he wasn't good. Let's talk Serginho Dest. You start with Dest.
2 different stories each half, right? Second half, not good from Dest. Probably gassed out, apparently. I don't know what happened to him in the second half. But first half, he looked pretty good. I wouldn't say pretty good. Looked decent enough or good. He was very active, very involved on offense, and his defense was good in the first half, surprisingly.
Yeah.
I'm going to give Dest overall, because the second half was poor, in my opinion, or at least he was a ghost, to say the least. I'm going to give him a 5. Average overall performance. Yeah,
I'm going to give him a 5 as well. What I think you mean in the first half is that he combined well with Weah and was a threat. He was always a threat. Maybe some of his crosses weren't great, but he was always getting involved in the little 1-2s, occupying space, and was very alert on defense, which you don't always see from Dest.
Jonathan David just scored, by the way, 2-0.
What is it, 2-0?
2-0 Canada.
Yeah. So, the 3 of us, this is it for Mexico, Canada. This is not it, but we've really put some distance now between the bottom 4. Let's see what Panama does. Moving after Dest, I'm with you on the 5. Let's go to Zimmerman. I'll start with Zimmerman. I'll give him a 7. Not because I didn't think he wasn't good, but just because I don't think he was really tested that much. And he had one moment where he got pulled out of position and Adams had to cover for him. And then he had a few times where he kind of got a little too tight to his player and gave away a needless foul. So it wasn't bad. He was good. But I'm not going to say he was excellent because of the quality of the opponent that he was playing against. I'm going to give him a 7.
Yeah, I'm sticking to the 7 as well. And he was good in the air, as always, winning all those balls in the air on the defensive end. I'm sticking to a 7 as well. I think it's fair.
And his passing was good. I mean, he didn't give the ball away. He wasn't lumping it long like we saw against Jamaica. Under pressure, he still connected the right passes, and that was good to see. Richards. Richards, I'm going to give about the same because there was mostly good, not really tested that much. The thing with Richards was he had also 1 or 2 moments. Once he dribbled into midfield and gave the ball away completely unnecessarily. But other than that, I thought he was fine. So I'm going to give him a 7 as well.
I'm going to give him a 6, a little bit less than Zimmerman. I thought Zimmerman was... So because of what you said, the same reasoning, he would be a 7 as well. But Zimmerman won the balls in the air much more, seemed more active in that sense in the game. I think Zimmerman was the best defender in this game, so I'm giving him a 7 and Richards a 6 for this one.
Okay. Anthony Robinson. You start with Robinson.
So the first half, he was kind of like Dest, involved a lot on offense, not very tested on defense. I just thought his crosses were kind of poor. I need to rewatch that to confirm it. However, he almost did assist Jesus on a play that Jesus also was able to dribble off the man. So he could have got an assist there. But in the second half, I thought Robinson was very good. Also, you do always, at least for me, you get a bonus point for scoring the game-winning goal. So
Absolutely.
bonus point right there for Robinson. I'm going to give him I don't know if I'm being too generous, but I'm going to give him an 8.5. It might be a little too generous overall for his performance, but the goal scored, the boost in confidence, almost scoring twice again.
Thrice. Well, two more, so it could have been hat trick.
Twice, like two more. Cool celebration too. I'm going to give an 8.5 for Anthony Robinson for this one.
I also want to highlight something that I thought Robinson oftentimes, gets criticized for, was his defending. I thought he was really good at stealing the ball, at winning tackles, his 1v1 duels in the defensive half. Now, he wasn't always isolated, to be fair. And again, like with the other defenders, the quality that he's up against is not great. But I'm going to give him an 8 because, again, game-winning goal. Could he have been better with some of his crosses? Yes. But he did also set up a lot of good opportunities and found himself, he was a good outlet on the left, right? And that's something that we needed a lot. So I'm going to give that to him.
Mm-hmm. Who's next?
Next up is Tyler Adams.
Want me to go first?
Yeah. Well, no, you went first on A-Rob. I'll start. I'm going to give Adams a 4. I thought it was a poor game from him. Poorer than the standards that we usually expect from a guy like Tyler Adams. His distribution was not really incisive. I thought he didn't move off the ball as well as he usually does. Oftentimes he was a bit too stationary. And oftentimes when closing guys down, I thought he overcommitted to tackles that he didn't need to overcommit to. Sometimes you just need to show them away from a danger area. You don't need to go in for the hard tackle. And I don't know if it's because he's not playing as much at Leipzig right now, or if just the fact that, he's going through a rough patch. But I don't think it was a good game from Tyler. I'm going to give him a 4.
Yeah, well, there's actually no excuse there. I think the last 2 games for Leipzig, he played at least 60 or 70 minutes. So even that,
I thought he came on as a sub in the second half in the last
maybe
game.
The last one, but before that he started. He's been getting minutes every game. I'm going to give him a 4 as well because I think 3 would be too harsh. 5 would be too generous.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give him a 4. It's the same thing we complain about Acosta, right? Not good on distribution on the ball. Tyler wasn't good on distribution on the ball. Defense sometimes looked a little lost, which is really not Tyler Adams like to look lost at times.
Yeah.
So 4, below average game for Tyler. And if we wanted to be harsher, we even could have, but I think 4 is fair.
I think that 4 is fair. I wanted to highlight that moment in the first half where Alex Roldan got the shot off. That was 2 sequences in a row. First, Serginho Dest getting beat, and then Tyler Adams overcommitting to the tackle and getting turned. It's the same thing we saw against Jamaica, and it's something he's going to have to work on if he wants to stay playing at an elite level, right? All right, so 4 for Tyler Adams. Let's move to Weston McKennie, and this is an interesting one. What are your thoughts?
I thought Weston was good. One thing he maybe could have done better was on set pieces, he had opportunities to finish. He didn't finish the header, which normally he does. But he was one of our best players in the first half, very active in the game. Seemed like he gassed out a little bit towards the end. I'm going to give Weston a 7 for this one. I thought he was good. I thought he had a good performance. For what Weston is. That's what Weston is.
Yes, but I was unhappy in the second half with the amount of over-dribbling he was doing under pressure. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just him, but from Weston, if you're over-dribbling and giving the ball away, you're giving away cheap turnovers. Those cheap turnovers can cost us if it's a better opponent, right? And that's something he wouldn't get away with at Juventus. So that probably stops me from giving him an 8. But yeah, he was I think he was our best midfielder on the night. So I'll give him a 7 as well. Hard worker as always trying to turn his opponent and dribble into space. But oftentimes the final ball was poor, or the final decision-making was poor, or the decision to dribble under pressure was poor, in my opinion. Christian Pulisic. I'm going to start. Oh, no, let's do Musa first. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Musa is a tough one for me because I don't think he was helped by Christian Pulisic's positioning, by the tactics on the field. I thought, for a guy like Musa to be successful, you need to create space. And I think that Pulisic was occupying the space that he usually occupies, and that sort of reduced him to a passenger. That being said, he didn't have an impact on the game much, at least not from what I saw. I'm going to give him a 5 because I don't think it's totally his fault. But I still wanted more from Yunus Musa.
Yeah, I'm not going to give too much explanation like you. I'm just going to say 5 because he was better than Tyler, worse than Weston. Tyler got a 4. Weston got a 7. 6 would be an above average game. We definitely can't say Yunus got an above average game. So I'm just going to say 5.
Yeah.
He almost scored also, remember? And the goalkeeper made a heck of a save.
That was a great save. That was one of the good moments from Jesus Ferreira where he just chested the ball down and Musa had the volley. The goalkeeper had a beautiful one-handed save on. Christian Pulisic, not a good day from him. I know the positioning was not good, but even so, bad game from Christian Pulisic. I'm going to give him a 3.
Yeah, it seems like I'm copying you, but I'm going the same. I think out of the players we had, not just because we hold him to a higher standard, he might have been our worst performer of the starters.
Yeah, between him and Tyler Adams.
Yeah, I think he was a little bit worse, though, than Tyler.
Yeah, I agree. What's so frustrating with Christian Pulisic is this need to play hero ball, right? 2-3 guys on you, and you're trying to dribble around them still in a crowded midfield. Just tap it sideways and move over, Pulisic. I mean, this is basic stuff. It's frustrating to see him continue to try to do this when he has quality players around him. And I don't know what the solution is, but if he's going to play that way, maybe you bench him. I mean, I don't think pulling him off was a bad decision. I agree with Greg on that one.
He needs to understand when is the time to just pass it sideways and when is the time to go at your defender or try something, right? Pull a magic trick. It can't be every time you touch the ball. That's the problem.
And to be honest, he shouldn't need us to explain that. That's very basic,
No, that's him just knowing. Not even Greg should explain that to him. He should just know. The same way we say Leggett needs to know that it's not always sideways or backwards. It's sometimes forward. Pulisic needs to understand that sometimes you do have to get rid of it and wait and try to find the right space, move the ball, and eventually there's that little gap and you go through with it. He needs to understand that he knows that actually. We've seen he knows that.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Okay, so 3 for Christian. Tim Weah. I'm going to give Tim Weah an 8. Even though he wasn't perfect, he was our most threatening player on the night, in my opinion. Always stretching the back line, always putting crosses in, was heavily involved in the goal that was scored, to be honest. A lot of it was Tim Weah's creation. So not a perfect game. Gassed out a little in the second half, but I'll give him an 8.
I'll give him a 7.5, a little bit below that, but yeah, very good game from Weah once again. And as I think we said here on my stream, I don't remember that right now. Yeah, here. He's our right winger. He's our best right winger. True right winger, that's Tim Weah right now. Not Brendan, as people try to say. Different players, and I think Weah is a level ahead of Brendan, especially on the winger position. He's our right winger, 7.5. Good game from him. Decisive.
Yeah, decisive. Jesus Ferreira, you go first on Jesus.
So I think his performance was below average, but I want to also defend him on a couple things. He's not a center forward, right? And I don't like him at the false 9. We kind of saw that in the Olympic qualifying already, and it wasn't good at that level, so I wouldn't expect it to work on this level. With that said, Jesus has many good qualities, and we saw some of it in this game as he almost assisted Yunus Musa, and he did assist Anthony Robinson. So he can do that. So if he plays as a 10, a shadow striker, that can work. A lone center forward, I haven't seen it work for Jesus. I'm going to give him a 5. I think he was below average, but as I always say, an assist, a goal, I give them a bonus, and he did get the assist for Anthony Robinson's goal. So I'll give him a 5 for that.
Yeah. He also missed the easiest opportunity of the game.
Yes.
I mean, that for me is very basic. Like if that's Pepe, people are screaming to get him off the field, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just think we have to hold Jesus to the same stat. If that's Josh Sargent, he's utter trash, right?
If it's Zardes, it's a normal game.
He did have that header that he missed. We'll get to Zardes.
He's clumsy.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a 5 because of the assist. But guys, I don't know about Jesus. He had a few good moments, but overall, I just didn't think he was he was sloppy with some of his touches, turned into pressure instead of into space. Maybe some of it was down to the fact that he's not a 9 and also down to the fact that he's out of season, right? He hasn't played since October. So I don't know why he was starting. I'm not really too convinced by Jesus, especially not as a 9. I'm with you on that, Filippo. I'll give him a 5. Let's get into the subs. First sub was Brendan Aronson for Christian Pulisic. How do you think he did?
Brendan Aronson, light game, lots of work rate, didn't do much.
No incisiveness, right? He's the kind of guy that's going to combine with you, and he's going to work hard.
Dangerous in transition too at times, make those hard runs into the box. So we didn't have that, obviously. Yeah. He's not. So look at this. I know El Salvador wasn't playing a low block, but they weren't really giving space in the field, right? They were making it very compact and narrow at times. So Brendan doesn't work well against those from what I've seen so far. So but Brendan wasn't bad as well. So I'm based on I would say 5 average. Can't really criticize or say he was good.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a 5. I thought he was a good outlet, but ultimately not too impactful in that sense. The next 2 subs were frustrating. Jordan Morris and Gyasi Zardes. Gyasi Zardes, I thought was poor. I thought he had one good moment that I remember where he took the ball down under pressure, as a hold-up striker, and with the outside of his boot, found Brendan Aronson on the left. Or maybe it was Morris. But that's the only moment where I thought he was good. He missed the header. He took a touch in the box that was so poor that it gave the ball back to El Salvador. It was the one from McKennie where Morris put the cross onto McKennie, and McKennie headed it down, and Zardes' touch is like 7 yards away from him, so he loses it. And then, it was just a typical Zardes performance. Not really impactful, can have 1 or 2 good moments, but not dangerous enough to be a center forward for us, in my opinion. I'm going to give him a 4.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and give Zardes and Morris the same rating, a 4.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be harsher because they also didn't have many minutes. No. But Zardes just looked like Zardes. And then the thing with him is he plays like that. And then in certain occasions, he gets a goal. Right? Yeah. The ball hits him, goes in, and then people are just saying how good he is. That is Zardes. This is Zardes. And yeah, if you play him enough in Concacaf, he's going to get goals eventually. It happens. But that's Zardes. And Morris just didn't do anything, right? Didn't look dangerous, didn't look threatening. The touch was off. Had like that one cross to McKennie. But heavy touches at times. Again, the guy hasn't really played many minutes competitively since he came back from the second ACL injury. He's also a pretty heavy player for a soccer player, right? On the upper half of your body. Like, he's pretty heavy. So,
and both Zardes and Morris are out of season. Let's be honest.
That too.
Right? Is that on them, or is that on Greg for putting them on the field when they're out of season? You know what I mean? Like, it's frustrating. Really frustrating.
4 and 4.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. 4 for both of them. The other side of your coin is they didn't have much time, but the job of a sub is to come on and impact the game, right? You have fresh legs compared to everybody else. You're supposed to come on and have a real impact. Did they have an impact? No, not in my opinion. So I'm going to say 4, and I think that's generous.
They still had over 20 minutes, so.
Yeah, they had, what was it, 74th minute they came on?
71st that they came in.
Yeah, so about 20 minutes they had.
Yeah, that's time.
Yeah. I've said before, I don't think Zardes should be on the national team. When you're talking about goals, he has 67 caps. 67 caps and 14 goals. You guys can do the math, right? That's 1 goal every 5 games. Considering the majority of those games are in CONCACAF, that's not good enough.
And he doesn't offer anything else. That's important to say too.
Very little.
All he can offer is the goals. His hold-up is not there. It's not like tactically he's that great. There's 2 things he can provide. Effort and goals. Effort, yes, he always brings in.
I don't think he can, when you say he can provide goals, I disagree.
No, I didn't say he provides. I didn't say he provides. I think the only things he can provide, the only things that he will provide is effort or goals, and he's not providing goals, so he's out. I'm just saying he doesn't offer. In his skill set, there's nothing else he can offer.
Right. I think people get excited by watching him score goals in MLS and thinking that will translate, but it hasn't translated in CONCACAF, not enough. So I'm with you there. I'm not going to rate Acosta simply because he didn't have enough time. He came on the 84th minute. 6 minutes is not enough time to judge somebody. Let's talk about Greg Berhalter. The good points were he got the win, 3 points. Okay. It's El Salvador at home. You should absolutely win. That's the bare minimum level of competence. But he did get the starting lineup right. And I know that sounds almost obtuse to say, because I think at this point, the starting lineup is obvious. But from what we've seen in the past with Greg, he doesn't always get those decisions right. So I'll give him credit for that. His subs were not good, and his in-game, in terms of managing the situation and recognizing what El Salvador was doing and not really reacting to it, I was disappointed. I'm going to give Greg a 6 just because, yeah, you got the win. Great. And you got the lineup right, I think, for the most part. But other than that, his sub patterns, his in-game management, not great, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a 5 average because he got the lineup for the most part. When you think about it, some of the players that he got in the lineup were kind of like obvious at this point, right? It would have been crazy if he started Morris, Ariol over Weah.
No, nuts.
The Jesus experiment didn't work. He tried it now. It didn't work once, didn't work twice. And he really didn't do anything to adjust to the game, right? We never improved throughout the game. Nothing that Greg did in changing or talking to the players or instructions or nothing changed. We played kind of like the same.
Very much the same thing. And that's been a big problem with Greg in the past. He cannot react to what's happening on the field. Greg knows way more about me than soccer. But even I can see what's going wrong and what we can do to maybe fix it. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if I had said that, it would have gone totally awry and not worked at all. But I feel like those were some changes we could have made in terms of the positioning, at least. And in terms of that,
I'm going to give him a 5 because I can't really. He didn't play. He took Leggett out. He didn't play all of his favorites, and we got the win 1-0. The question is, our team is just so much more talented than the opponent that it seems like if you just played them, we would have won, right? It would have happened. That's almost what it seems like because the team is so much better. So a 5. You can't give him too much credit, but you also can't really bash Greg for what happened today. It's not all on him.
Yeah, I think it was a mix of on Greg and also on some of the players who didn't perform up to their usual level. Sean Wood, though, says it really well. Considering the talent he has, he manages the team horribly. I don't know if I would say horribly, but certainly he can be a lot better.
Poorly.
Poorly. Guys, I put this on Twitter the other day, but we have, 6 times as many players in the top 6 leagues as Canada. And we have 3 times as many players in the top 6 leagues in Europe as Mexico, right? We have 3 times as many players as both Canada and Mexico in the Champions League. We have 2 times as many players as both Canada and Mexico playing in Europa League. We should be far away ahead of everybody in Concacaf. This is the level of talent that we're talking about. And the fact that we're scrapping it out for a top 3 spot, still, we're in the mix, obviously, and we're doing fine. But I think for the talent we have and the player pool we have, we can and we should expect more, right? And if you look at the way that, John Herdman has managed Canada or even Thomas Christensen has managed Panama, you can see coaches taking a team and making them greater than the sum of their parts. And I just don't think Greg has done that so far, or very rarely in games. And that's why we're critical of him at times. Arnold Maldonado, how are you, Arnold? Keep up the good work, Pete and Filippo. Remember, people, to hit that like button. Yes, guys, smash that like button if you haven't already. We've got 1,200 people here. I don't want this to drag on too long. I know it's late for you, Filippo. I know you're tired. But, guys, tomorrow morning, Filippo is going to have a 7 Things We Learned video from this game. So don't forget to check that out. As always, I will be putting the Patreon video. I'll be breaking down this video tactically and performance-wise on Patreon. It's $3 a month. If you guys want to check that out, your support helps to support the channel as well. So very much appreciated. Davin Lamus, what are your thoughts here, Filippo? You guys are not given much credit to the opponent. They also play their part.
We did. We talked about the tactics that El Salvador did. It's just that I don't think the credit to them is really from a technical standpoint from the players' individual talent. That's not what it was. Yeah. Right? But tactically, they did it right, and the players played the best of their ability. We gave credit to Hugo Perez. That played a big role. But it's Greg Berhalter's job. He doesn't even – so when we face El Salvador, Greg doesn't have to outcoach Hugo Perez. He has to just match it. If he matches it, we'll easily win it. Greg got outcoached once again, and that's why it led to a very tough win at home.
Yeah. Our quality in the end shone through, but I wanted him to react a whole lot better to what Hugo Perez, who, by the way, was coaching in our youth ranks. This guy was our under-15 national team coach, and then we fired him, and now he's with El Salvador. He's somebody that would be very valuable to our program, in my opinion, but good on El Salvador. They did good. Canada won the game, guys. Panama is still nil at halftime. I'm going to stay up and watch the second half of that. If Panama beats Costa Rica, guys, that pretty much solidifies the top 4, okay? If Costa Rica wins, now it becomes a top 5. It becomes very close. So anything can happen. But Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. all winning today pretty much solidified our positions in, the top 4 already. So that's good. Sunday, we have Canada away. That's going to be a very interesting one in icy Ontario. We'll talk about that. I'm sure, Filippo, you're going to have a preview out about that soon, right? In a couple of days.
Yeah, probably on Saturday. Interesting game. I need to see what's going on with Canada there. And important game. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want people to think like it doesn't matter if we tie or lose, we can win Honduras and we're good to go.
No.
We need to go for the win.
Ooh, thought Adams was our best player, covered the back line well. Can't really say I agree with you there, GG. I didn't think it was one of Adams' best game. If you guys want to understand, I'll highlight some of those moments tomorrow on Patreon, or you can see where I thought Adams needed to be better. So thank you for the super chat, though. Guys, have a great evening. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for coming to hang with us. We always appreciate your support, all the super chats, even just being in this room with us, being a part of this community. We really appreciate it. And, we're all in this together, to use another trite phrase that's been overused during times of COVID. But we are all in this together, hoping and supporting our team. We're on the way to Qatar. We'll see you guys on Sunday.